Hi, and welcome to the Handsell with Ron Hogan and Jessica Francis Kane. Today I'm in Park Slope, Brooklyn at the Community Bookstore, and I'm really glad to have Jessica back. She was a guest on one of the earliest Handsell segments, and she had so much fun recommending a title for somebody that when I said, hey, do you want to do this again? You foolheartedly perhaps, came right back. So Jessica is the author most recently of This Close, a collection of short stories, and many of these short stories she wrote in between working on her novel, The Report. And so, maybe it's not the right wording to ask whether you like novels or short stories better, but how do you feel what's it like writing novels and short stories, I guess?
I do like writing both of them. They feel very different. I think when I'm in the middle of a short story, I think there's a sense of urgency that I enjoy to get it finished, at least a first draft. A novel feels a little bit more like you're at sea for a longer time, but if you can have patience with that feeling, it's really very rewarding, and you know that you have something big underway, and every morning you go to your desk to see where it's going to go that day. And I like that feeling too. They're just different.
Wonderful. Cool. So, well, you know how the Handsell works, but
yes.
For those of you who are maybe watching us for the first time, basically people send me lists of books that they've enjoyed, and then I recruit an author or perhaps an independent bookseller, and we go over that list and try to come up with a recommendation for what they should read next. Today's list comes to us anonymously over the Tumblr, and it includes 3 titles. Ruth Ozeki's My Year of Meats, Anita Diamant's The Red Tent, and Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. And what I was struck by in this list is that although one is a contemporary and one is a historical and one is sort of a science fictional sort of tale, there is a common element that binds them all together, and you picked up on this right away too. So
I think that is friendships between women and strong female characters. All 3 of these books rely on that as a major theme. So continuing in that trend, I thought that the person who submitted this list might be interested to have a couple of other books in the same vein. So I thought of a nonfiction book and a novel. I'll mention the novel first. It is called The Quickening by Michelle Hoover. This was her first novel, published in 2010. And it is the story of 2 farm wives in the upper Midwest in the early 1900s, leading into the Great Depression. And they are very different in temperament and character, but their friendship becomes vitally important to their survival in this harsh setting. And it's just a beautifully written novel about this friendship. So, The Quickening by Michelle Hoover. And then the other book I can't recommend highly enough, this is one of my all-time favorites, is Truth and Beauty by Anne Patchett. And this is the memoir of her friendship, Anne Patchett's friendship with the writer Lucy Greeley, who is the author of Autobiography of a Face. Anne and Lucy met in writing school and doing an MFA and became very good friends. And the book traces their friendship over many years. Both were ambitious writers. Both were very, very talented writers. Lucy struggled with the fact that her face had been deformed from a surgery as a child to rid her jaw of cancer, and she struggled with that and how that affected her life, and relied on Anne in very interesting ways. And so it is a beautiful study of friendship between two women.
And as you said, Lucy Greeley had a memoir of her own, which was like Autobiography of a Face.
Yes.
And I remember.
Which is also a very good book.
Yes, it's wonderful. I remember when I first moved to New York in the early 2000s, and she was still on the New York literary scene. I mean, she was a really very highly regarded author, and people had a lot of hopes for her,
yes,
and her voice. And so I would encourage you to look up Autobiography of a Face as well as Truth and Beauty, which is a wonderful book. And if you're watching, we'd love to see more nonfiction from you as well as more fiction. Now, the book that I chose, I kind of just went with the fact that these were 3 women writers and focusing less on the characters and sort of looking at some of the fantastical elements. There's the historical drama of The Red Tent and the otherworldly aspects of The Handmaid's Tale. And I went with this really wonderful novel by a woman that I had never heard of before I picked it up. Her name is Sophia Samatar, and it's a book from Small Beer Press, a small independent press in Western Massachusetts called A Stranger in Olandria, and it's a fantasy novel about the son of a pepper farm tycoon in this magical kingdom, which has a very sort of like Southeast Asian Pacific Islander vibe in the way that the fantasy culture plays out to me. And basically this son of the tycoon is being groomed to be a gentleman and is sent off to the capital city in the archipelago, which gives it an even stronger sort of like Pacific Islander vibe there. And it's this really interesting culture where rationalism is kind of taken hold, but not entirely. So there is a religion, and it's one that's very adamant about stamping out any sort of like competing religions. And so when this guy believes that he has seen a ghost and tells somebody about it, that person tells the priesthood's secret police, because he's then accused of claiming to have seen an angel, and angels are supposed to not even exist. So he is basically thrust into this religious and political drama and plays out in the midst of that in the context of this very otherworldly, as I say, landscape and society, but in a way that makes it feel very not inviting necessarily, but we're able to ease into it very accommodatingly, and we are caught up to speed relatively quickly. And so although it seems exotic, it isn't exoticism for exoticism's sake. It's exactly as if you were, say, reading a novel that was set in Paris or Barcelona or Tokyo or Bangkok or wherever for the first time. And so you're just getting a sense of this person trying to navigate his way through this culture that is both unfamiliar to him and, unfortunately in his case, rather hostile to him. And I just love the writing, and it's really a great story, and I'm eager to see what Sofia Samatar does with subsequent books after this one, which, as I said, is A Stranger in Olandria. So there are 3 titles that we've come up for this person to read, and we hope that you folks will read some of these as well. And if you would like us to come up with a reading recommendation for you, you go to thehandsell.com/ask and tell me 3 to 5 books or authors that you've enjoyed, and then I will recruit an author or perhaps an independent bookseller, and quite possibly even Jessica again, and we will come up with something for you to read next. So from Community Bookstore in Park Slope, Brooklyn, this has been The Handsell with Ron Hogan and Jessica Francis Kane, and thanks for watching.